Hey guys, Isaac here. Just want to give you guys a quick little update on the rods and reels I'm using. Rods and reels are one of the biggest expenditures for bass fishermen across the country. If you don't have a boat, you're probably investing more in your rods and reels than anything else in your bass fishing arsenal. So as I go through this, I'm going to be talking about each rod and reel, why I bought it. I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of it, and I'm going to be talking most importantly about whether or not I think they are worth the money. For me, as kind of more of a thrifty angler, that's what this video is going to be geared towards, but I'm also going to try and give you a well-rounded view of each piece of equipment that I have. So, also one more thing I wanted to mention is I'm not sponsored by any company. No company really has a reason to sponsor me. I don't have a large social media following. I don't have a big Instagram page. I don't have a big YouTube page, anything like that. So I'm paying for these rods and reels what you would be paying. I do find sales, obviously. I cash in on the Black Friday deal. We all do those things. But all of this stuff is stuff that I paid prices that you would pay for. So keep that in mind as I'm going through this stuff. I also wanted to mention that some of this gear is a little bit newer to me, so I'm not going to be able to talk on the longevity of all of it, but I can talk on some of the first impressions on the water, off the water, and just my general feel for the rod. So without further ado, I'm going to start with my wimpiest piece of gear. So this right here is a 6'6" medium action Gander Mountain Vortex spinning setup. So I literally got this rod because as Gander Mountain was going out of business, I think it was like $12 or something like that. I picked it up in my hand, felt all right. I was like, it'd be good to have a cheap little finesse combo sitting on the deck of my canoe that I could kind of just pick up and use for like a backup finesse tactic if I had it. Not super sensitive. It's what you get. It's $12. It's light. It's comfortable to fish with. It's great for those days where they're eating the Senko, but you can't feel it. You just see the line swim off. So that's what I usually use this for. It's not like I highly recommend this thing or anything. And even if I did, you couldn't buy it because they're out of business. But it's a nice little combo that I have. There's nothing wrong with humbling yourself and having a rod and reel like this. It's helpful. So this is also the kind of thing I would use if I was going on a little river mission with my friends. Fishing for smallies or something like that. Next up, this is my more legit spinning combo, and I actually love this thing. This is one of those newer pieces of equipment. I got it for Christmas. I've only gotten on the water with it a couple of times, but my first impression is absolutely incredible. This is the Ark Viper 7'2" medium heavy. One of the things that I've noticed, I fish a lot with a friend who absolutely kicks my butt when it comes to finesse tactics. I can kind of hold up to him when we're power fishing sometimes, but especially in finesse tactics, he just wipes the floor with me, and he's a much better angler overall. So as I'm on the boat with him, I'm trying to glean some information from him, and one of the things he mentioned was that my rods and reel, well, more specifically my rods for my spinning combos, were all very flimsy. And one of the downsides of that is obviously that if you hook a big fish, you're just praying that it makes the right moves and fights the right way and isn't going to jump and spit your hook and all that stuff. So I wanted to get a little bit of a beefier spinning combo, the 7'2" medium heavy, so I can keep those fish pinned, feel like I control them a little bit more, and also with that stiffness comes a little bit more sensitivity. So the 7'2" medium heavy is leaps and bounds beyond any other spinning gear I've owned. Now I have owned more spinning gear than just that Gander Mountain Vortex. Obviously, I have owned a couple other $100-ish combos, but this, again, it's above and beyond. One thing you'll notice as I go through my arsenal is Ark is a company that is highly impressing me. Okay, so a lot of my rods and reels, or a lot of my rods, sorry, they don't make reels, a lot of their rods are gonna be from them. I have found that they are the best bang for your buck rods on the market. They have good customer service as far as I can tell. I guess I shouldn't say that because I haven't had any problems with them, so I don't know, but all of my interactions with them have been positive. Just a really, really good, solid rod. It's light, it's balanced. This is normally a $100 rod. I got it on sale for the 25 days of Christmas sale, and I have that paired up with a Daiwa Revros 2500. Now I will say this reel is okay. It's very smooth, has a nice drag, but one of the things it does is it back reels sometimes, which is super, super annoying, obviously, especially in the middle of a fight. If you're back reeling when you're not trying to, it's one of the most stressful things you can deal with. Having said that, casts really well, it's very smooth, and its drag is really buttery. So overall, good combo. I'm very pleased with it. I actually have a blade bait on this I was using the other day. It's winter time. Obviously here in Virginia, the water temps are here low 40s, sometimes high 40s if you get a lucky day. And they were munching on that blade bait the other day pretty well. And honestly, every fish that hit this thing felt like a freight train. You can feel everything. For a $100 rod, this thing is super sensitive. It's as good as any $100 rod I've ever used. Now again, that's a first impression. Can't speak with longevity, but so far I'm very pleased. Next up, we have another Ark Viper, surprise! So that first one, that spinning rod that I got, was actually a Christmas gift. Now I also got a Tackle Warehouse gift card from my brother, and what did I do? As soon as I picked up that other Ark Viper and felt it in my hand, I was like, holy cow, I gotta get another one of these. So this is another Ark Viper. This is obviously a casting combo. I have it paired up with a Shimano Caenan. This is the 150 HG, so it's a 7:2 gear ratio. Just a good overall rod and reel. I plan on using this a lot for top waters, not frogs, but top waters like poppers, maybe smaller walking baits, buzz baits, things like that. It's light, it's sensitive. I'm assuming, I haven't actually gotten on the water with this one, I should say that, but it's very light, comfortable in the hand, and I assume that the sensitivity is going to be a lot like the spinning setup. So first impressions, it feels very sturdy, comfortable in the hand, and I'm assuming that it'll fish similarly to the spinning rod, and if it does, it'll be worth every penny. Again, $100 rod. I got it on sale for cheaper than that with the 25 days of Christmas. By the time I upload this, you may be able to still snag one of those, but I doubt people are waiting to watch my videos because I'm not that cool. But anyways, great rod and reel combo. I'm going to use it a lot for square bills, tinier crankbaits that I might not be able to flick out there with a bit beefier flipping stick, stuff like that. But yeah, good rod and reel combo. Next up, this is obviously not a combo. This is just a lone rod that is currently not paired up. I plan on buying another reel soon, just don't have the money at the time. This is an iRod fiber. This is a 704CH. It's a 7-foot heavy. Now this is one of those deals where I bought it without picking it up in the store and really feeling what's going on. This would be a great frogging stick. This would be great for close quarters, flipping and pitching stuff. I will say I spent a couple days fishing brush hogs with it, and I was blown away with how sensitive it is. This is as sensitive probably as any rod in my whole arsenal, and I've got some rods that are a lot more expensive than this. Having said that, it's an action that's kind of limited. You're kind of limited to frogging and that close quarter jig stuff. Now if you like a shorter rod and you like jig fishing, this might be your go-to, but for me I prefer a longer rod. So I don't find myself using it that much. Having said that, it's super sensitive, it's light, feels comfortable in the hand, and I have had very good experiences with iRod customer service. I have had issues with their gear, and they resolved it very well, and even in the case it was kind of my fault. So the guy was super reasonable. He didn't give me a full refund, a new rod, but he kind of made a deal with me that I thought was very reasonable. So highly recommend iRod. This rod specifically, don't get it if you plan on throwing around little square bills and tiny little poppers and tiny stuff. Just don't do it. It doesn't have enough tip action to really get those baits out there. Having said that, it's got an incredible backbone, super sensitive, overall great rod. It's just not an action that I use very much. Next up, now this is a spicy one. This is a Favorite Rush. Now, this is a $250 rod. I didn't pay that much for it. I was able to find a fancy deal that's no longer happening, but this is a Favorite Rush. Like I said, 7-foot medium heavy paired up with a Shimano Casitas 7:2 gear ratio. One thing you'll notice, all my gear ratios are pretty up there. I don't believe in those super slow, big-handled crankbait reels that they call them, because personally, I have the discipline, I feel like, to slow it down when I need to. I don't believe in the whole slow reel idea, okay? If I have a big fish hooked on a crankbait reel and it decides to charge at the boat, I want to be able to catch up to that fish. And if I've got a 5-to-1 gear ratio, that's going to be an awfully tough task. So this is my rod and reel that is, or this is my rod that's the most expensive MSRP wise. My first impressions are pretty good. Again, this is a newer rod. I only have caught a few fish on it so far. I will say every fish I've caught on it so far has felt like a freight train hitting my bait, which is pretty impressive for the winter time. So sensitivity on this thing is really, really good so far. I do plan on doing a full on the water review deal type thing with this later, probably in the summertime once I fish with it a lot, because I kind of saw a lacking in that area online. So I do plan on doing that later. But for now, all I can give is a first impression. I will say it's not as light as some of my other rods. It's not as well balanced. It's not as comfortable as some of them, but the sensitivity is really, really superb. And it looks sick. I don't know if you can really see it in this lighting because I'm inside and it's dark outside and whatever. But it's got a really cool pattern in the actual rod blank. And I like it. I don't know. Seems like a good rod, and it comes with a limited lifetime warranty. So if I have a problem with it, I'm hoping that they will be able to replace it. Haven't had an issue yet. We'll see how it does. All right, now this is a Dobyns Fury 734. Now a little bit of backstory. About 2 years ago, I posted a video, and it's one of my most popular videos to date, talking about Dobyns Fury rods and how they're the greatest thing ever for around $100, and they're so great, and leaps and bounds above, and whatever. The reality is, yes, they are great rods. They hold up pretty well. They're sensitive. They're pretty light. They have a reputation that is literally from coast to coast across the country as one of the best $100 rods. Now, the reason that I don't use them anymore, nor recommend them anymore, is I had a really, really, really bad experience with their customer service. Now, fishing rods break. That's part of life, okay? You have fishing rods, they're not gonna last forever, okay? But having said that, when you have a really bad experience with customer service where you don't feel like you're treated right, kind of turns you off to a company, and that's exactly what happened with Dobyns. So I had a 703C Dobyns Fury. I was throwing a KVD 1.5 with it, had my GoPro running, snapped in half on the cast. Now, theoretically, there could have been like a nick in the blank, and based off of that, they told me that's exactly what happened. I was full of BS. The camera didn't say anything pretty much, and there must have been a nick in the blank beforehand. So anyways, I said, no, I really don't think there was, because I was fishing with it all day, and then all of a sudden it snapped. And basically, my overall experience was they were determined that I was either lying or unaware of a nick in the blank, and they were just generally very rude on the phone. I didn't like the way I was talked to. I felt like it was kind of condescending. They said that there were impact and crush marks on the rod. I asked for clarification on that. They sent me the pictures back. It didn't make any sense to me. They were kind of vague with how they described it. I just wasn't happy with it. So, end of rant with Dobyns. Great rods and reels, when they're holding up, but I can't recommend them as a company because I don't like the way I was treated. That's the end of my little story. All right. Shimano Caenan paired up with that Dobyns Fury 734. Caught an 8.5 pounder on this setup. Great rod for flipping jigs, throwing bigger topwaters, spooks, even heavier buzz baits sometimes. This rod is great in terms of backbone. I've had this thing for probably 3 years now. It's held up pretty well. Haven't had it snap in half on camera, so no, they don't all break in half on cast. But again, I just don't want to buy more and risk having a fluke happen and then them not honoring any sort of replacement. I have had a couple guides pop out over the years, which I guess is sort of to be expected. Sorry, not guides, but guide inserts. As you can see, probably right there. I don't know if it's focused, but yeah, so overall, good rod and reel. That's, again, a Dobyns Fury 734, great for jigs, spinnerbaits, chatterbaits, all that stuff, paired up with a Shimano Caenan 7.2-1. All right, and I accidentally saved the best for last. This is an Ark Sniper paired up with a Shimano Curado 70XG. This is my favorite combo, hands down, not even close. This thing's unbelievable. It is by far the most versatile rod, the most sensitive rod, the most comfortable rod, the most well-balanced rod, and the lightest rod. I might have repeated one of those, don't really care, wanted to get to 5, this thing's sick, okay? So, it is a 7'3" mag medium heavy. It says it's rated for 10 to 25 pound line, 1/4 ounce to 1/4 ounce lure. Now, oftentimes those ratings don't really mean crap. That's pretty accurate. You could throw a little heavier stuff. I've thrown everything from literally a 3/8 ounce jig head with a little swim bait all the way up to an S-Waver 168. That's how versatile this thing is. Now, generally, I use it for jigs. This is my go-to if I'm gonna flip a structure boat around, or a 1/2 ounce jig, or a 3/4 ounce jig, or whatever. It's so sensitive, it's so powerful, and it has so much tip action. You can launch anything a really, really solid distance. Having that paired up with the Shimano Casitas or Curado 70XG with that 8:2-to-1 gear ratio, picks up line fast. It's just my favorite combo. I've had this one for just over a year. I actually got it last year for the 25 days of Christmas. I've had no issues with it. All the guides are perfect, all the inserts are perfect, and it's just an incredible rod. Again, unfortunately, I believe that rod is discontinued. If you do have the privilege of finding one of them on eBay, go for it. Even if you have to pay the full $200, go for it. It's incredible. Okay? Awesome rod. I do believe Ark sells the Invoker, which is a very, very similar rod that has great things said about it. So that is one that I would highly recommend. So again, guys, that's the gear I use. I'm not sponsored by any companies. I try not to have bias. It's not my plan to like tear down Dobyns and build up Ark and hate one company and worship the other. However, I do want to share my experience with you guys so that you understand where I'm coming from, my own personal experience. I've had other people tell me, I've heard both sides of the spectrum. I've heard that Dobyns helped them out when they broke it. I've heard that Dobyns treated them like trash. One of my good buddies said he had a very similar experience to me. It might depend on who's working in the office on that particular day, but for me, I can just say I talked directly with Gary Dobyns and one of his secretaries, and I just didn't like my experience. Didn't like the way that it went down. Yeah, so that's my rod and reel arsenal. Take it or leave it for what it's worth. Highly recommend Ark products so far, and I plan on kind of updating you guys as I get to experience more and more fish with each rod and reel. So if there's a particular combo that you want to learn more about as I go on with fishing, you're more than welcome to do that. But as for now, thank you for watching.